This is a tutorial video that will demonstrate GIS resources created to help districts planning an agriculture cost share program project for Section 319 and National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant funds within the High Rock Lake watershed. These resources are optional to use. The only item that districts will be required to fill out information for and complete is a survey form to successfully request grant funds. But these resources will be available to districts to help with planning projects and determining if these local projects will score well at the watershed level. So there were two GIS resources created that are available for use, and I'm going to demonstrate the capabilities of both of those resources. I'm going to be covering the High Rock Lake Atlas first. So that is, the High Rock Lake Atlas is what is on the screen now. And in this tool, you can submit queries for surface waters, you can search by HUC-12 watershed names, you can collect coordinate information for points, sketch a project on the map, a conservation plan. You can also view the watershed ranking form, which is linked in the corner of the screen here. I'm just going to go ahead and click on that and show you that. So from this page, you can either download or print. And if you download this form, you can fill it out. And each of these points, you can select the number of points that you think your project would qualify for, just to plan out how many points this will get at the watershed ranking form. These buttons, reset form at the top of the page and at the bottom of the page here, will be active once you download this form. And this is the form that the division will use when ranking projects that are submitted in the first batch period for 319 and National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant funds. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate the various tools that are within this atlas so you can see what this tool can do and what it might be useful for with planning purposes. So the first thing I wanted to demonstrate is this search option. So in this tool, you can search by coordinate point or by address. So if we have a coordinate, you can type that in. I recommend just adding a comma there so it'll zoom properly. Sometimes it'll do this, in which case you can just hit the more options and hit the second one, and then it'll load properly into the map. And so that's one way to navigate to a specific address that you want to develop a conservation plan map for. You have an address, you can type that in and it will zoom to, the address that you locate on the map. This icon, if you pull this up, it'll show you all of the layers. So if we zoom out, you can see all of the visible layers. You can toggle these layers on and off depending on the visibility that you want to keep. Some of these layers will automatically turn off when you zoom in far enough into the map. And you'll also notice when you zoom in that the map will show imagery. And that is affected by the base map. There is a base map established. If you wish to change the base map, you can do that here. Just one more thing about the layers options here. So you can toggle off layers one at a time. You can also look at the legend to get a better sense of what each of these layers are meant to represent. So that kind of green layer that we toggled off just a second ago is a 300-foot buffer for surface waters that have a classification for WS3 and WS4, which are water supply waters. All right. This tool is to select, so if you wish to make a specific selection, you can do that, and it'll select all of the layers on the screen here that you've selected. I recommend using this when you've zoomed in far enough, just so it doesn't select everything on your screen. This is a coordinate point generation. So if you zoom into a particular area or you move around a little bit and you want to redefine your coordinate point, you can select a location on the map and copy those coordinate points. And so if you ever, toggle away, you can always go back and search to the location area that you had specified. This toolbar here is used for sketching out items. Just some real quick things about this toolbar. You can draw specific points. You can enable location measurement. So the unit here is decimal degrees or degrees minutes seconds. So if we want to place a location point and have it display, it'll show the location in degrees, in decimal degrees here. If you click this eraser button, it clears everything that you have done up until that point. If you want to only erase one specific feature, say we didn't really like our last one there, we can highlight, select it to delete. If we hit, again, this eraser button, it clears everything that we put down. For each of the lines, options available, you can adjust symbology. You can enable different measurements available with them. So if we wanted to draw a line and have it automatically calculate a length, we can do that. Similarly, with a polygon, we can show an area, say acres, perimeter, let's say feet. It'll show us that. You can, again, select different features and edit them. You can move them around on your screen. And then if you want to edit specific points, you click in the polygon again, and then you'll see some orange vertices pop up that you can move around. If you want to add more vertices, you just click the in-between edge, and it'll add some more points for you. Just a couple of quick shortcuts with this. If you add a point and you don't want to actually add that point, you can just press Z on your keyboard and it'll get rid of that point you just added. If you want to re-add a point that you accidentally deleted, you can just hit R on your keyboard and it will add it back. If you want to deselect your item, you can hit Escape on the keyboard and then it will leave that editing, and then you can reselect that shape to make additional edits if you need to. You can share the map by clicking this short link. Just a quick note about this. This just shares the mapping tool. It doesn't share anything that you've sketched on the map. So don't plan to sketch something out and then share it and then realize that it's not showing what you just sketched on. Save whatever you sketched. This is kind of a interact with this resource one time, use it, and then get out of it. There's not really a way to save work within here. With whatever you sketch, you can, plan to print your area. If you hit this preview print extent, you can see what will be captured in the print window. You can zoom out and pan to change how much is being captured or what sections of the map area here are being captured. You can also choose your preferred template. There's going to be several available: letter, landscape, and portrait, and then 11:17 landscape, portrait, and then map only. Really quickly about these extra little query toolbars here. You can select a particular AU number, BIMS number, or AU number. This is basically what the state uses to organize stream segments in their surface water classifications map, as well as for their integrated reporting activity that they have to complete for Clean Water Act. Integrated reporting activity includes the 303D list generation every 2 years. So if you know a particular AU number for a stream segment that you're having a project along, you can select that number, apply it, and then zoom to that stream segment through this tool. So the map will automatically zoom to it, and then you can look up some more information about that particular segment in this tool. Similarly, if you know the watershed where your project is going to be at the HUC 12 scale, you can type in here, and let's say we want to go to the Elkin Creek watershed. Similarly with this tool, it'll zoom over to the Elkin Creek watershed and into the map here. We can read some more information about this watershed. This surface water classifications table functions very similarly to these little search queries. So if you want to toggle between HUC 12 watershed or surface water and look up a particular one, then you can, and it'll zoom to that surface water. This is a view to show what has been selected or to show all of the segments. So if you want to only find out information about the segment that you've highlighted, you just have to change your view options there. Similarly for HUC 12 watersheds, if you choose whichever watershed that you want to go to, it'll zoom to that particular watershed type. When you use the select tool, you select layers. You can, there's labels here that show you what the BIMS number is for a particular stream segment. But if you select it there, you can also, again, show the selection view to show what watershed area that this is in, as well as, what, the segment is that you just selected there. Just additional information that may not be displayed on the map. All right, so I'm going to go through a little example sketch out a specific project site here. So at this project site, we can see when we open up our layers option that we have a 100-foot buffer for an impaired water segment, as well as a 300-foot buffer for an impaired water segment that's purple. If we toggle these layers on and off, the buffers, we can see that underneath that, the stream segment for Snow Creek is also a surface water that has a WS3 or 4 classification. So that's important to know, and the impaired buffer does kind of cover up that information. But again, if you search the specific BIMS number for that stream segment, so we can see as far as the label is concerned, this is 12-108-9. And then if you hit search more, it'll show up some additional ones. So you can select that, hit apply, and then see more information about it. So we can see that with this particular segment for Snow Creek, the BIMS surface water classification is WS4, water supply tier 4. And again, that information is useful so you can know how this project will rank according to the ranking form developed for the watershed over here. So we can see if this project has the potential to be within less than 100 feet from an impaired stream segment, it can qualify for 20 points. If it has the ability to benefit a water supply tier 3 or tier 4 water, it also qualifies for 10 points. So just keep that in mind. For the project that we want to sketch, we want to sketch essentially a livestock exclusion project for this last little paddock here of pasture. Because our exclusion is kind of interfering with this 100 and 300 foot buffer, I'm going to toggle those layers off for the moment. So when we're sketching our project, we can do that pretty easily. All right. So again, I want to show the measurement area. I want to show the perimeter and acres. And I'm going to just go ahead and sketch out the livestock exclusion area. The one thing that I will mention is that you can't add text to the map in this tool. You can in the other tool, which I'll demonstrate when we get there, but you can't add it in this tool. However, when you do print, and if you are in Microsoft Internet Explorer, I have the ability in my version of Internet Explorer to add in text or little notes before printing the document or downloading it. And I'll demonstrate that here in a second when we print this out. So this tool should still be available if you want to, add some little notes about your map before you submit it. All right, so in this example, I had some livestock exclusion fencing for this last paddock. It's a pretty good representation of what will be fenced off for this project. I'm adding 2 watering tanks locations for the cattle in this area, just for this example. And now I think we're ready to print. I'm going to make sure that those layers that we had turned off before are visible. Might zoom out just a tad. And so my printing area is exactly where I want it to be. So this print of the map will show everything that I want it to see. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this button, print. It's going to take a minute for this map to load, but it will eventually. And then you just click the link and you'll be able to see the legend was printed, as well as whatever we sketched was printed. Now I had mentioned earlier that you can't add text in this tool, but if you use this tool in Microsoft Internet Explorer, you do have the ability to add in some text to your map here before you eventually, print it. So I want to just go ahead and just add in, that this location point is a water trough type of similar thing down here. And there you have it. So that's what you can use this tool for. Again, this is really just to help you orient yourself to some of the ranking parameters at the watershed level that DSWC will use to rank projects for grant funds. And so you can see most of the layers that we'll be using to rank projects in this Atlas tool. And this Atlas tool, it will be helpful if you want to put together a conservation plan map. Again, you don't have to use this if there's other resources that you already use that you feel more comfortable with, but it is an option available to you. Okay, so I wanted to show you this other resource. This is the second resource. I will refer to it as the prioritization web map. It does have this very long name you can see on the screen here. But for the purposes of this, when I refer to prioritization web map, instead of Atlas, I'll be referring to this tool. Similarly, there's several similar icons and capabilities that are available. It is in a different format. If you are more familiar with the map viewer layout, this might be a little bit easier and more intuitive for you to use. If you're not that familiar with map viewer, I personally think the first Atlas tool is maybe a little bit more intuitive for users that have never experienced map viewer before. Map viewer does allow you to do some more capabilities with visualization and what that Atlas will allow you to do. Really with the Atlas, you can basically toggle layers on and off, and that's the extent of how you can adjust visualization. If you want to adjust visualization in this tool, you can go to the layers button, select a particular layer, and then if you go into the properties option here, which should automatically pop up, you can, change symbology so it's more helpful to you with your own visualization. If you want to, change the visible range for different layers, I would make those adjustments, then you can in this tool. And again, you can change symbology. Similar to the Atlas, in this mapping tool, you can do filters, you can do queries, you can look up attribute information for the different layers. So you can pull up a table and highlight, select multiple parts of that layer. All right. Some additional things that you can do, you can adjust labels. You can see for this one, I did add a label for the index number or the AU number. If you ever want to turn that off at some point so it doesn't display, so that's this label here, this index number for all of the surface water. If you want to turn that off, you totally can, and then you can turn it back on. So that's just one capability. Make sure that this layer is selected to access the right tools for that layer on this menu on the side here on the right. The project search bar to locate a particular address or coordinate point is down here. Again, things are mostly available in this tool, similar to the Atlas, but they're just in different locations. The print tool is down here. If you want to pull up the legend, it's there. Again, layers is there. You can change the base map if you want to. And to sketch a particular project, you can go to the toolbar on the side here and hit this sketch. So if we want to go ahead and do that, I'm going to zoom to a project location and run through the same project that we just did in the Atlas tool and sketch out our project. I'm also going to toggle off layers. You will notice in this tool that there is not an ability to capture an area, a perimeter, or a length distance in what you sketch out. If you do end up wanting to determine an area, you will have to hit this measurement. You go to map tools and hit measurement, and you have to draw over what you just drew to get an approximate measurement. Go to acres. You can see that this is about 5 acres. But again, it doesn't stay permanently on. We want to add pins to show water trough locations, we can do that. And if we want to add text, that is a capability within this tool. So once we get our map to where we want it to be and the labels that we want to add onto it, just make sure we toggle on our layers, all the layers that we want to show, zoom out to where we want to be, and I wouldn't recommend zooming out too far. And then printing our map. So if you select advanced options, you can include a legend, include the north arrow. You can specify the resolution that you want. And when you're ready, you can hit this export button and it'll generate a file for you after a minute. And you can see that this displays a number of different things in the legend here. It also specifies the text. We do seem to have some overlapping, so if I want to fix that, I can always go back, to my layers, hit the sketch tool, and then try and select one of the shapes on the screen. I prefer to go to the Properties tab for the sketch layer and then hit the Edit button to be able to edit text and some of the other sketch items that we have added to our map. So to reduce overlap with the labels, I'm going to reduce the size of each of these labels. And then we can go back to our print button. Make sure to include the legend and the north arrow, hit export, and then select the file that loads. And you can see here that our labels don't seem to be overlapping as much. So this map looks good and will meet what we need it to. So we can always go back and mess around in the map a little bit more. The last thing that I wanted to point out in this map viewer tool is this map properties. So there is a little gear shift icon on the menu on the left-hand side of the screen. So if you hit map properties, it'll pull up a page that has item details for the entire map. So if you select that link, you can read a little bit about the description of the map, the purpose of the individual layers, terms of use information. But what I wanted to point out is that you can open up this map in ArcMap and in ArcGIS Pro. So if you have a desktop license for ArcGIS, you can load in these layers in this map within your desktop version of ArcGIS. And that way you can save sketches or other things if you want to keep and access these layers, but you want to have the capability to save sketches in something that you can come back to and edit. You can download this map, and then once it downloads, you can just select the item, and then it should open it up in ArcGIS Desktop for you. And with that, that concludes our coverage of both of the GIS tools and resources that were created to assist districts with planning for agriculture cost share program projects for National Fish and Wildlife Foundation in 319 funding within the High Rock Lake watershed.